Roll the intro.
Smile.
Are you tired of struggling with Google SEO? Are you tired of struggling with knowing how to optimize your YouTube videos? Are you tired of struggling on learning how to rank on YouTube? If so, you've come to the right place. Welcome to the Snowflake Samurai. My name is Jonathan, and tonight in the studio we've got CJ. CJ is going to walk us through the technical aspects of actually setting up our YouTube channel from scratch and how you can start ranking it. For those that don't know, Snowflake Samurai is dedicated towards mastering scaling up. This is part of scaling up. So CJ, welcome to the show.
Hey, Jonathan, thanks, man. Thanks for having me. It's good to be able to sit and chat with you tonight.
Welcome. Thanks, man. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, anytime, man.
So CJ is a YouTube gamer. He's been doing YouTube for many, many years. He's got a vast experience on testing different concepts and different strategies. He's tried pretty much everything that's come underneath the sun from a USA point of view, from a British point or European market point of view. And he's pretty much tapped into what works in South Africa. So CJ is going to be walking us through that process of what works internationally, how we can rank up internationally, and also in South Africa. Thanks.
Yeah, Jonathan, thanks, man. The key thing with SEO, understanding how you want to optimize your brand or company, whether it be from social media, YouTube, or streaming, is to understand the platforms that you need to use to do that and to understand what you want to gain from it. You know, for some people, it's to generate leads, for businesses, that type of thing. And for social content creators, it's to ultimately draw attention to yourself or your pages or your streams and hopefully convert that into subscribers. So the big thing one needs to take into account, there's a big difference between gaining a following through subscribers and just gaining views. You can pay for services just to gain views, for instance, but that doesn't necessarily uh, have people want to follow you or like your content or that sort of thing. So you really need to try and gauge at what point and how you want to optimize SEO searches and how you're going to do that. Another very important thing that you have to keep in mind is something that they refer to as trends. um, and trends being, if you're talking doing podcasts or interviews and those type of things, what are the things being talked about in the world today? I mean, obviously today we've got a pandemic on our hands, so a lot of people are talking about it, but at the same time you also don't want to be talking about something that everyone else is talking about. So looking for specific keywords or searches is a very, very important part of trying to understand how to do it. And keywords is a major part in it. You know, if you had to look, for instance, if you had to look, if people are searching for self-help versus self-finance, you'll find that if you title your videos or your searches or whatever for help or self-help, you might find that better ranking than specific to finance. So it all depends what you want to achieve on how you end up or go about doing it. That's what it's really about.
So is it important for somebody to understand their niche from the get-go, or can a person play around with their niche while they start finding the waters on where they want to be?
A big thing, I suppose, it's one of two ways. If you have something that's very unique off the bat, run with it. But a successful way of doing things, to be honest, is mimicking or following what successful people have done. And while you do that, discover yourself, discover your own style, and bring in that style into your niche, to find your niche, because the reality is you're not going to get subscribers or followers or whatever it may be if you don't do that. You need to draw people into you and your unique way of doing things. So it's okay if you're not 100% sure how to do something, to take from people who have already made a success of it, or really doing it well, but learn from that. But you have to apply your personality, your own specific twist or flavor to it, because
Yeah.
without that, you might drive some views, you might get some sort of viral activity, but you'll never really get the base of followers, because at the end of the
Mm.
day, people are coming to look at you. They are not coming to just listen to what you're talking about. They are there for you, the presenter, the content creator, um,
The
the samurai, if
influencer.
you will. Yeah, they are there
Yeah.
to come and interact and talk with you. So the interaction part's very important as well.
Yeah. Um, what I found doing from moving from Jonathan Adrian to, or Jonathan Adrian and then iPic Engineering to Snowflake Samurai, it's been a big transition from one point to the other. I found from Jonathan Adrian, it was more of a vlog style. Then iPic Engineering was kind of the in between. You know, it was the duck learning how to swim, so to speak. But then when at the beginning of 2020, I figured out, okay, I want to actually take this I want to start taking this seriously, and I actually want to make this a brand name, a household name. You know, I started thinking, where can I fit in? What am I good at?
Mm.
What can I teach? What can I give to the world? If I wanted to, let's say, start a music streaming station, I wouldn't know where to start. I'm not that musically inclined. I like listening to music, but it's not my thing. It doesn't make me happy. You know, I think a lot of times when YouTubers start something, or in fact, when anybody starts a business, now this is only from my own opinion, we tend to start something with the thought of love. I love playing golf, so I'm going to become a professional. Here's the thing, I think when you start doing things just for the sake of passion, it burns out, it fades away, because then it becomes a job. And for me, how I'm looking at Snowflake Samurai, it's not a job. It's something I like to do. Let me put it this way. Michael Jordan, arguably the best basketball player of all time, he didn't love playing basketball. His first love was baseball, but he liked basketball so much that it became his number one focus. And the reason why I bring that up is when you are trying to rank up on SEO or trying to optimize your search on SEO, it's important to understand what your market is and how you're going to deliver that content. And through what CJ is going to be giving us, these tips and hacks, you hopefully will be able to find certainty. It's all good and well to try and create a pizza, but not everybody eats a pineapple pizza. Not everybody eats banana on a pizza. So you got to find your market, your type of slice of pizza.
100% correct. I mean, the reality is you've got to learn, first of all, skills. You've got to get better at it. And then you have to also understand how to market it. The reality about SEO and all that type of optimization is a lot of people know what it is that they want, but they have no idea how to bring it in. And the reality is, if everyone did know how to bring it in, everyone would be doing it, and that would change the dynamic of how all of that works. So, one very important thing people don't always understand is that before you start focusing on optimization and bringing in views or creating a content, you need to discover and work on what is that niche. Okay, so you need to have that niche in place. You need to have, if you're a content creator, for instance, you have to have good quality content, something that people's either going to want to watch or listen to. If you're a podcaster, listen to. If you're a business, you have to have a product that people are going to be interested in. Advertising online, same thing. Is it's okay to advertise, but what is it that are people going to want your product versus somebody else's, and how you go about doing that? So developing your skills to the point where you decide, okay, now it's time for me to focus on optimization is a very big part of it. A lot of people go, okay, I'm going to just do this and I'm going to start optimizing straight away. And that's a way to do it, but the reality is you don't get longevity out of that. You might get a small peak and then it kind of curves off. So
Definitely. And
yeah, go ahead.
so it's something I've been very cautious of starting Snowflake Samurai. It's I'm very wary of, okay, you need to get to 1,000 subscribers and you need to get to 4,000 viewing hours before you can actually start getting to the next level on YouTube. But if I build a business model, now this goes for anybody out there that wants to create a YouTube channel or maintain a YouTube channel. I would suggest, stop focusing on the subscriptions and the likes and start building the back end. Forget about the sexiness first and build the foundations, because if the foundation is not in place, later on, you're going to get those cracks. Yes, right now, for example, the Snowflake Samurai, it's not that popular. But now, if we had to have a video that goes viral and it hits a million views, it's going to be a euphoric high. And then with that euphoric high, we're going to have a ground zero splash. The idea is to have consistent growth. Exponential growth is better than linear growth or exploded growth.
Yeah, 100%. And that sort of alludes to the next thing. So the first thing is find your niche and work on your craft. Learn the skills required to be decent at it, whatever it is you do, before you try and focus on optimization and that type of thing. The second part of it is be consistent. So especially for content creators, you have to upload on a consistent basis. If you do that once a month, that's fine, but do it at the same time, the same day, every single month, and let your people know that this is what I do. This is my schedule. The same is true for live streaming. It's okay to go live, but people need to know when and where to find you and what time, that type of thing. So if you want to really succeed, you need to be consistent. You need to work on your brand and your niche, and you have to do it regularly. That's the big thing, because without it, people aren't going to want to interact with you. They're not going to want to follow you. And then at the end of the day, even if you've done all the optimization and brought in that traffic, people don't know what to do, so they don't stay. They end up leaving. So that's a big part of it. So a lot of the way I see SEO is basically putting down the building blocks first, putting down the foundation, so that you can ensure that whatever you do from there, you actually try and bring in a successful campaign of optimization, whatever that may be. And we can talk in a bit on different options, but that's the core essence. Those are the first things to look at.
From my experience, through actually starting to take YouTube serious and building Snowflake Samurai, the brand, from my discovery is I understand now the people I want to target. I didn't really focus on the markets. I was focusing on the value I want to give to the people. Again, I'm going to bring it back to music. If I wanted to start a music channel, what music would I create? Jazz. I'm a jazz guy. I love jazz. All right. So that would be my brand. What value will the jazz I want to deliver give to the people? So for me, how I went about it was I've seen of seeing somebody that's watching the screen. I was thinking, how can I bring impact to their lives? And when I understand the impact I want to deliver, then I can start actually ranking on those things. For example, right now, I understand that Snowflake Samurai is about growth. It's about wealth and success. It might evolve as time goes on. It might evolve in the sense that we only look at one thing, maybe growth. We might look at spirituality as an extra branch. Don't know yet. But right now, focusing on growth, wealth, and success is the target. That's the value I want to bring. So how can I, as a content creator, bring growth? Then I've got a window of opportunity to say, okay, growth can be A, B, C, D. All right, let's look at growth hacking. How can we get from 0 to 100 subscribers, for example, on an exponential level, so that we can sustain growth? So my point I'm trying to say is, don't worry about the subscribers in numbers per se. First, focus on the value creation. The more value you create, the more seeds you plant. Now, see the seeds as the audience. And the more seeds they are, the more audience they are, the more they're going to grow with you. And that's what you want. You don't want an overnight show. You want something in the next 10 years, that is remarkable, where you've changed with your audience. And through this process, you've grown, you've formed a brand, you've been able to monetize, and ideally, you've become better than what you were.
Yeah, 100%, 100% correct. And those are those foundation and those building blocks. And I suppose the next question is, so what's the next step? Say now you've done these sort of building blocks, you've put this in place, you've worked on your skills and your ability to create and that type of thing. So the question is now, how do you translate this into trying to optimize? And the simple answer is by bringing traffic in. And bringing traffic in consists of a number of ways one can do it. So the first and most obvious way is to make sure that you are cross-platform. So in other words, your brand is consistent. So if you're a YouTuber, you should have an Instagram account. You should have a Facebook page. You should have all the social media platforms. Twitter, a lot of people read on Twitter, and it's also just to say, hey guys, I've got a new video out, or hey guys, my interview this week's going to be delayed until such and such a time. So it really helps cross-pollinate and also get reach out. So that's the first one. Make sure that you've got a presence, and a consistent presence, with your brand and all your style on the different platforms. The second way one can also look at it, and this is getting more into the financial side of it as well, is looking at advertising. For instance, you've got the capability to, on Instagram, reach out to influencers and that type of thing, to do shout outs. You can pay people for it, you can pay brands for it. So people who are in the same sphere, or perhaps doing something similar but slightly different, who's got a big base. You can leverage off that. That's not something I would recommend, though, not especially when you're new, and especially if you're trying to grow something, but it is a way people drive traffic. The other way is through Google itself. So YouTube ads, Facebook ads. So basically paying to push your content out so that people get brought in. Again, the difference between if those people decide to stay is the quality of content and what they're seeing, and if it's relatable. So that's the other next tip, is that it has to be relatable to your audience. And then the last part of that is something like a website, having your brand also drive into your website if you have something like that. But it also all depends on what stage you are of the process. But you combine all those sort of things at the end of the day, once you've got a good quality product, once you know who you want to talk to, you can have your websites, you can have your marketing, so your advertising, if you will, and you can have all your platforms running to make sure that people are aware of what you're doing and how you're doing it. And that's probably one of the best sort of bundles to succeed. But the reality is also what you make and what you put out has to be of something that's interest to you and quality to your viewers.
So far, just to review, we've spoken a lot about content and quality, and that's being your first fundamental building blocks. And then obviously we just spoke about three types of platforms that you can use to get traffic, which is important. You can go on other social media platforms: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Twitch. That would be, it depends if you're a gamer or whatever. And then there's paid traffic, and then something more organic like a website. Now, I understand what CJ is saying, but I also want to point out something. If you're a starter, you don't have to rush out to get a web page done. You don't. You can view your YouTube page as your web page. There's some YouTubers out there that don't have a website at all. Their main web page is YouTube. People search the bar, they click, boom, same as what you would do on Google. It's just a YouTube platform. But what they do have, they get organic traffic from Instagram or other social media platforms. So it is also something that you don't have to do. There's no set rule about this, but it is good to plan out. the process on how you want to start slowly unraveling your product.
Oh, 100%. And if I can also clarify, something further, I talk about quality a lot. Quality does not necessarily translate into spending money to have products that give you good quality. So what I mean more is the quality of your content. Are you putting out something that you are knowledgeable in, that you are passionate about, and that you can relate to others? So that's the most first and most fundamental part on quality. Yes, things like audio. Audio is probably more important than, let's say, effects and the web quality and that type of thing. So audio is the next type of thing, because nobody wants to hear terrible sounding quality, whether it's a podcast or watching a video or a live stream. All three of those, for instance, those type of things. Audio is important, and will help as well. But there's a lot of ways you can tweak audio without buying expensive audio equipment. So that's also part of your learning process, is how to equalize sounds, how to edit sounds, just to make them sound a little bit better, even on cheaper equipment. So the quality aspect of it is not so much about going out and spending thousands of rands on the best cameras and the best everything. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is getting the quality of your product out, your quality of your podcast, the quality of what you're talking about, whether that be educational, whether that just be something relatable, current events, whatever it may be. It's mastering that side of it. That's what we refer to when we talk about the quality of it.
Absolutely. And I'm just going to stop CJ there for a little while. For those of you that don't know how I feel about this, I spoke to Rudy about it in a few episodes back. And pretty much any business is built on 3 stepping stones. Skills is number 1, marketing is number 2, and then sales is number 3. Don't worry about your sales and marketing first and foremost. Worry about your skills. All right. What CJ is saying is, you can, for example, you can be camera shy, but it's a skill to get over it, right? I know sometimes when I started doing YouTube, for example, I was super camera shy. I had to get out of the comfort zone, but that's a skill that you learn. It's a win. It's the path to victory, is getting uncomfortable with being uncomfortable. All right. Secondly, yes, you can go out and you can drop a lot of dough on having the most beautiful studio and the best equipment. But here's the thing, the carpenter is only as good as his skills, not as good as his tools. So that is important to learn. Always keep scaling up. The more you scale up, that means developing your skills. That is your soft skills, your hard skills. For example, I could be working on my charisma, or I could be talking or working on my tonalities, or I could be working on my speech recognition. I have to learn how to slow down and be more present and cut out that noise. So learning your skills and mastering your skills is first and foremost number 1 before you worry about your marketing or your sales.
Yeah, 100%, 100% correct. And then the idea really is, for once you've got your skills and you've got those building blocks down, is to try and bringing that traffic organically, through optimizing all these type of things. And that's the idea, is to really, once you've got that down to a sort of a fine art, to try and look at expanding on it, and then you can build your brand. I mean, there's no point in having a website, for instance, as you say, or specific web page dedicated to something, but yet you don't have the brand, or there's not going to be any traffic driven to it, or when people do get there, they have no idea what it's about. So doing the sequence, as you say, the building blocks, don't worry about those other things until you've got the sort of first and second step and so on down, or right down to a bit of an art. And then once you do have
Yeah.
that thing, start looking at specific things like those drivers.
Definitely. And I know this is sounds boring, but you know what? There's 2 ways to look at this. There's the escalator mentality, meaning you're getting the elevator, the elevator or the escalator, doesn't matter. And you're going to get to where you want to be quick. That's fine. But walking the staircase brings longevity. And now a lot of the information we are saying is unbiased. It's uncurated information that you're going to get from any place else. Because a lot of other places, they want to drive traffic quickly. I'm not interested in building an overnight sensation. I'm interested in building a legacy that's going to last me a lifetime, and it's going to leave a legacy for another lifetime and another lifetime. And fundamentally, when you are focusing on developing your skills, even as you get deeper, let's say you've been doing your YouTube channel for 5 years, don't stop growing, don't stop optimizing yourself. It's easy to find a hashtag or a keyword in different communities. But if you're not going to optimize yourself as a person, fundamentally, you're not going to get the growth for your channel. What does this have to do with anything? It's a little bit off topic, but it's still on topic. It's about what you put in, you're going to get out. And as we get into this conversation, you're going to be seeing that you can rank on certain words, and those words is where you're going to get the value from.
Yeah, 100%. And a big part of also honing those skills when you look at optimization is using the right key phrases and using the right type of things. In other words, when somebody searches in for a topic, it's got to be something that's understandable, your descriptions as well as your um, titles have to match, and it's got to be specific to what you're talking about so that people know that when they come to your page that they're getting the video that they're looking for. So if you're doing a tutorial on how to build a table, for instance, you can call it how to build a table, and somebody is going to go into Google or into YouTube and say how to build a table, and then depending on how obviously you ranked on that, and the way you do that is also through um, referrals. The algorithm sort of looks at keywords, things you put in. Does what you say in your description match the title? Have you gotten any click through? How long do people watch your videos? So there's a lot of algorithmic type things on YouTube. That's a whole nother set of criteria that I don't think we would touch in too much for now. But the reality is you have to make those type of things very specific to what you're trying to achieve. And then you've got other things as well, like your thumbnails and your um, aestheticness of your channel. So put a bit of time and effort into your banners, into your thumbnails, into those type of things. It doesn't mean it's going to be perfect from day one, but that's the skill you're developing so that by the time you do start optimizing, it is appealing to the eye, if that makes sense. So it makes people want to
Definitely.
click on it.
Definitely. This becomes part of your identity. Um, for example, when I talk about identity, I mentioned this in step one, is first understand your avatar. Again, that's the value you want to create for the person. Now I understand that mentality, the psychology of the avatar, of the viewer, if you will. But now I'm understanding the type of brand identity I'm also creating by understanding the viewer and the consensus of what I'm assuming what they're looking for. All right. The point I'm trying to make is, guys, and it's kind of what CJ is saying, and I fully agree with it. Don't worry about trying to be perfect the first time or the second time or the third time. You will work into that perfectness. You will work into that perfectness as you learn how to take those steps. If once again, if you're going to get it right the first time, what have you learned from it? The thing is to keep learning forward, to keep experimenting. For example, if you look at the thumbnails for Snowflake Samurai, I haven't found the right formula yet, but I'm keeping experimenting, and there's nothing wrong with that. What Google or what YouTube likes to look at is first and foremost a thumbnail. All right. Here's a little quick tip for when you're making a thumbnail. Now, this is from my own experience, and CJ can back me up on this. Thumbnails go on three formats. It goes on a big screen, a computer screen, a tablet, and a cell phone. So it works on different aspect ratios. So you don't want to have a thumbnail with words that are very small, and you don't want to have a thumbnail with words too big. But these are skills you can learn and how to develop on a later stage. It's just something out there. Then obviously your title. Does your title need to match your thumbnail, CJ?
No, not necessarily. So it all depends, you know. So when you talk about thumbnails, you get very different styles. I'll give you a couple examples. You get the classic little square thumbnail with very bold print on it, you know. Let's call that a very sort of what's the word we're looking for, obnoxious or in your face type of thing. That could be somebody who's into comedy or something, somebody looking for dramatic effect. If you have a look at photographers or people into filmography, often they have a beautiful thumbnail with a picture with no words on it at all, because the picture is telling you basically what it needs to be, or what their channel is about or what they're about. So you don't always have to match what you say on the thumbnail, but you have to make sure that the thumbnail relates to your personality, if you will,
Yeah.
your identity. So whether that be a still, whether that be something that's in fine writing or whatever it may be, it doesn't necessarily have to match what you're talking about, but it has to match the overall theme of your channel and the overall theme. So in other words, we talk about wealth, we talk about growth, we talk about spirituality. Well, you know, we don't have to make a thumbnail to any one of those ends. We can say, so, or make a thumbnail that appeals to all of those things, because we do a series of discussions and we want people to look at all of those aspects over time. So there's a lot of different things to consider when making a thumbnail. But overall, you wanted to capture your identity more than anything else.
Awesome. When it comes to designing the right title for a video, now I know this is something I've been struggling with. Any tips, any hacks on that?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things. So the one first, you know, you've got to look at it as the viewer. So again, let's use a tutorial because it's a very easy example to use. If you're making a tutorial, you want it to, what are you likely to put into Google and to YouTube? If you want to do something, a cooking recipe, for instance, what are you going to put into the search bar? It's not going to be a long-winded thing. It's going to be like how to make stir fry. Um, so you want to make it relatable to the topic that you're discussing, very specific. And another thing, let's look at finance, for instance. So some people look at finance as self-help or self-growth, growing my finances versus financial planning. So should I make it financial planning or growing my finances? Well, there's a very nifty tool by Google called AdWords that you can actually search. What do people actually search for? How often do these searches come up? So you'll actually see that, well, people are searching for financial growth more often than financial planning. And therefore, I would recommend that you put that into your title, because the key phrases or the key words that people are using are more inclined to that. And it's a free product by Google. There are paid for services that allow you to, you know, they give you top 10, that type of thing. There's a lot of paid for services, but Google Analytics is free. Um, so first of all is think of you as a user. What are you going to put in when you search for something? And secondly is use the tools that are available through Google already. Look at the phrases people use or the keywords they use, and that let that guide what you put into the title, for instance. And then also the second tip is make sure whatever you put in your title coincides with what you put into your description and your keywords. You want it to be a common denominator. You don't want 100 or keywords in your searches, those type of things. You want specific keywords that draw the algorithms to be inclined to understand, because remember, these are computers studying what you're doing. It's the computer's trying to understand what is this video about, so that when people put it into a search, it may come up if they say, okay, this is what this person's looking for, so let me recommend it.
Absolutely. There, I want to add to what CJ just said, and it's very cool. You know, using different tools, AdWords, TubeBuddy, vidIQ. There's a lot of tools out there. But how I've done it, and just to break it down, is when I started this, I'm like, okay, I want to create a business plan, and I want to walk through with people. I want to be on their shoulders, so to speak, and be the sheep going through the sheep pen first and doing this. So how am I going to do this? I'm going to start creating a how-to series, step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. And that's pretty much how I'm doing it. So I'm thinking, okay, what's the first thing I'm focusing on? Okay, that's finding my avatar. Secondly, what am I doing? Oh, I'm looking on how to optimize my YouTube channel, or how to learn how to optimize. So also, a good way to do it is think of the bigger picture of what you want to do, and then just break it down to smaller steps of like achievable goals. And then you can say, okay, what do I need to do to get to X? Well, you need to get to A. What's A first? B, C, D. So you can break it down like that by planning out the bigger goal. You don't have to plan out every session. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying understanding where you want to get to and how you're going to get there.
100%. And remember, it's specific to what you're trying to achieve, to the way that you put it out there. For instance, if you were doing let's call it a comedy channel where you do skits, um, you would want to maybe classify it like a TV show does, a TV series, season 1, episode 1, 2, 3. If you're doing a tutorial series, it could be episode 1, 2, 3, and so on and so on. So it all depends on what it is that you're creating. And I think that's why that, as you say, that bigger picture is so fundamentally important, so that you can plan it out and then work around that. So it doesn't have to be every single thing has to be a catchy title or anything like that. It could be a very sequenced thing. But you also then have to, when you do your videos, explain to people, look, if you've caught this video, remember there's episode 1, 2, and 3 before this one, and that you may be interested in checking out. And that is also how you drive views to your previous videos.
Mm.
Because people are inclined to look at playlists. So also make sure that when you create something, you add it into a playlist, because this is a specific set of series we're creating or that we're dealing with, whether it be how-to guides, whether it be how how I'm finding my avatar, how I'm creating my brand, and how that can translate into success for you as well. However you decide to do that, make sure that you group sets of things you do together, so that number one, the audience knows how to find it, and number two, the algorithms also know how to find it.
And for those of you that don't know how to create a playlist, it's pretty much you go onto your own YouTube back screen. All right. You click on playlist, and then it will say create new. You just create a new playlist. And then every time you upload a video, you just dump it in there. You will see an option down below before you do upload it. And then you just click on playlist, you select a playlist, and then that's how you do it. Another good way to do this is by adding cards and what else is it? Yeah, it's cards and those little ID blocks where you can lead other people to other videos in the series. But we'll get more into that a little bit later on. That's more towards the end of the video. Right now, we're trying to understand how to optimize our content before we get there. So I think right now, CJ, what I would like to do is, do you have any examples of how people can do this, of optimization, before we look at tags and descriptions? Or do you still want to go on looking at descriptions and tag words?
So I think the optimization, the beginning is those fundamentals that we talked about. Get your, work on your quality, work on the content that you're putting out. Once you're happy with those sort of fundamental building blocks as you put them out, then the next step is looking at the titles, the descriptions. So let's assume we've now got the identity right, we've got the content out, we're creating it, we're learning through it as well, we're growing through it. But at the same time, now we want to start optimizing it a little bit more. So that next step is looking at your titles. And for that, I recommend go on to, the analytical pages and put in the key phrases so that you can tie your titles in, and then make sure that in your description, for instance, you put in specific key phrases that people would type, as well as your name, because people often, once they become aware of your brand, they might search your name. So those are the small things. Keep it basic, keep it simple, and keep it consistent. Those are the
Mm.
things. So in your description, keep the description very consistent in terms of what you're describing, how you describe it. Do it in the same way, but make it unique to what the content is. And the second thing is also, just remember, if you refer to something in your video and you say, I'll put the link in the description. Always remember to do those small little things. Add as much information as you can within context without making it very long to read through or anything like that, just to make it appealing and make it easy for the user. That's sort
Absolutely.
of that next step.
Yeah. In your tag box. Now I'm going to talk about tags first before the description, and then CJ can just back me up on this or give his input. What I like to do is I like to create my title first. Okay, then I like to go into my tags. And then I start finding tags that's relevant to my title or what I spoke about through the video. Um, and remember, in your tag box is up to 500 characters. So fill that out, max that out. When I first started doing this, I felt shy. I really felt shy about putting too many tags because I thought it might not be relevant. But here's the thing: if CJ and I start talking about, I don't know, a coffee machine, and we talk about for the next 3 minutes just about how to make coffee or the fantastic espresso machine he did, I'm going to put that in there because it's going to rank somewhere along the line. It doesn't have to be the whole conversation. You can put in those little keywords in there just to, I don't know, cheat the system, if you will. What I like to do is then I like to use my tags, and I like to build my description around that. For the first 200 characters, don't put in, now this is what I suggest, and we'll get back to CJ on this in a minute. Don't put in a web page direct link or a relink or something like that. Put in what people are going to read. Remember, you've created this content and you want the viewer, the audience, to understand what this video is about before clicking on it. You want to whet their appetite. Putting a link to a website, it doesn't whet anybody's appetite. It feels spammy. You don't want to come across as a spammy person. You want to create organic audience. And the reason, the way you can do that is by giving the most clarity, the most transparent, the most authentic information you can in the description box. Use that description box to its max. And right at the end of the description box, then you can put things like a transcript or links or social media links or whatever like that. But your first 100 characters is all about what the video is about.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, your description is basically got to, like you say, keep it short, sweet, and to the point in terms of what is in the video. All your tags and that sort of come behind it. For instance, in gaming, you'll have your description, and then underneath it, you'll actually put your game title. And only underneath that, you'll say the music you use or other references, or check out my other videos and check this out and check this out. So people actually have to scroll to get to that. So the people that scroll are the people that are interested in that specific side of it. The description really has to be that thing that they see when they say, this is what this video is about, and this is what we're going to be talking about. The same is true for your tags, like you say, to put in the tags and build a description around that, 100%. Nothing wrong with that. That's the process you follow, because number one, it's consistent, they work together. And secondly, whatever you're talking about in the tags, you're talking about in the description. So that's important. And what's very important for YouTube specifically is click-through rate and viewership. How long do people watch your videos for, and how often do they click on your videos? That type of thing. That's what the algorithms really take into account. If, for instance, you make all your tags are incorrect or not very relevant, and your description's wrong, and even your title's wrong, and people click on your video, they're going to watch it for the first 3-4 minutes, and they say, okay, this is not actually what I was looking for, and they go away. And that's how the algorithm sort of determines that, well, this is not in line with that, so it stops promoting your videos, etc., etc. So that's why it's so vitally important to tie all those things in together, basically.
Cool. So we've covered a lot of ground, and I think there's a lot of information. But CJ, is there a way that you can show us a process on how to do this for somebody that's new to the system optimization thing, or what would you recommend somebody learns the process through?
Well, look, I think the process is something that you need to. So the first thing is to do research, see what the people that are successful in it do and how they do it. and also to, just sort of hone your own style. Once you've done those things, use those tools, those basic tools, the analytical tools, understand those things, use those tags, and take it from there. From that point on, uh, you can get into the more technicalities of it. And I think that's something that's probably a whole nother sort of discussion that we can have. If we would do a more, let's call it an intermediate step. These are really the basics we're talking about today, is just getting the fundamental building blocks together, and then you'll sort of get into the intermediate side of it, and then the more advanced side of it. But what I would suggest, what I want to do, is I sort of actually want to show, and this is a sort of reactive thing, so this might lead to a second discussion on the topic. I actually want to show you what I'm talking about. So what I want to do as a little experiment is suggest as follows. You're going to upload this video to your channel, add your own individual style, your key tags, your key phrases, title, and I'm going to do the same. I'm going to upload it to my channel. I haven't decided if I'm going to do it on my gaming channel. I might, because it's a good experiment actually, and it takes you sort of out of your comfort zone. It's not what your people are used to watching. Or I might actually do it on the other side of that channel, which is under my name, but I think that might not get the desired effect. And what I want to do is I want to show you, by utilizing some of these techniques, how we can drive views or viewership to that video. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to take it, I'm going to post it onto my gaming channel as a podcast or interview video, and then I'm going to optimize it to try and bring traffic in. And then we can compare. We can actually go into the Google Analytics afterwards, after a week or two, and then we can have a look at it and say, okay, this is how this video performed and why it performed the way it did. Well, what I'm expecting to see from it is I'm going to try and maximize views, but because it's not my niche and it's not what people are at my channel for, you're probably going to see either the subscribers being fairly constant, no new subscribers or very few new subscribers. We may even see some unsubscribers, because people who come to my channel come for a certain type of content, and now I'm putting something else out there. But it's also important for channels to evolve and that type of thing, and that also comes with that sort of inherent, well, people only like specific things. That's not all that I am, and it's not all I'm about. So it's going to be an interesting experiment, but the main key is to drive views on this one. And then, after that, we can also focus on, okay, how do we look at getting subscribers and that type of thing? And we can compare, let's see how many views we can get on a video by just applying some of these things that we've discussed today, those specific items.
Absolutely. And I think to clarify what CJ has just said, it's pretty much split testing. So what we're going to do is we're going to blindside each other. CJ is going to do what he was going to do. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And we're going to see how we're going to drive traffic. And the reason why we want to do a split test is to see what is working, what doesn't work. Why does this relate to you, and why is it important to you? It's because you want to know what works for your video. You want to know what works for your growth. You don't want to put out brilliant content and no one watches the content. I know right now, for example, Snowflake Samurai, the watch time is increasing. It's increasing little bit by little bit. This week alone, I'm up 400%. How did I find that out? By the analytics. I'm not sure yet what the sweet spot is on the view duration. So I'm still going through the process. Again, this is an experiment. You can do 10,000 videos. You can do 1,000,000 different videos. Keep experimenting and keep growing through the process, and you will find that result. I think it's always important to understand that even though you've got a seed and that seed becomes an acorn, the acorn or the tree will become or will have branches. And sometimes you need to cut the dead branch for the new branch to grow. And that's pretty much why you want to do different tests and experimenting on what is working, what is not working. Another thing I do suggest for somebody that's new to YouTube or has a YouTube channel but is not finding that consistent growth, if you've got a lot of videos. Now, before I did this, I had almost 500 videos, something like that. What I went through, I cleaned them all out. I only started focusing on Snowflake Samurai. That's it. Anything before that, I I deleted it or made it private, or that's it, because I want my audience to understand what Snowflake Samurai is about. You can keep those other videos but make them private, and then in the next 10 years time or 5 years time you can reflect on them and see your own personal growth. But no one's interested in that. Your viewer wants to view what they want to view and not what is not relevant.
100%. I mean, for us doing this experiment also is it's a learning curve for us, on Snowflake Samurai. Um, Specifically, it's to see, let's see how we can improve these things and let's see what we can do. Another thing that I'm going to do in the video that I post is I'm going to post a link to this video, but on your channel. So once you've uploaded it, I'm going to say to check out the original video on Snowflake Samurai, click on this link. And through your analytics, we should be able to see if we actually were able to drive any traffic through that source. So that brings another important topic, maybe which we'll cover next in the next video on this, but that's collaboration. Collaboration with other people that have the same skill set, or other people that have content creating, all that type of stuff can be very beneficial to you, because you can also leverage off each other, and that can also help a lot. So for me, I think this is a very good learning curve for us. So the only reason we're doing it is to see, one, how does optimization actually work, and to see, okay, well, how do we do this moving forward? What's the best way? How do we tweak small things here and there to try and get better results?
Absolutely, absolutely. Before closing, what I would like to do, I just want to give everybody a summary of what we've done. All right. So first and foremost, what we suggest is focus on your content and your quality. Your quality doesn't mean to have the best of the best of the best. The quality is on your skills. Develop your skills first. Focus on how you can, you as your carpenter, how you can carve wood better, if you will. All right. Then optimization. Look at your thumbnails. Don't worry too much about getting your thumbnails perfect. Just start looking at model how, if you want to copy a channel that is not relevant to you and you want to copy their thumbnails, try it. If you want to copy somebody else's thumbnails that's relevant to you, try it. But find your own specific way of doing thumbnails. Why are thumbnails perfect or good to have is because the Google or the YouTube algorithm works on thumbnails. And also remember, the audience likes to see pictures. All right, they're not just going to click on a blank square. Your thumbnail should also be relevant. It's no point me posting a Fortnite thumbnail when I've got nothing to do with Fortnite 1, or I'm not a gaming channel 2, or I don't even mention Fortnite at all. So make your thumbnail as relevant as possible. It doesn't have to be to a T, but make it relevant. Secondly, titles. Don't make your titles too short or too long. Make it relevant to the discussion. Make it relevant to the discussion. If I'm going to be talking about cats, I'm not going to be saying, "Hey, look how I mow the lawn." I'm going to have the cat in the description box. Another thing that you can do to optimize your title is put in a year, 2020. Lockdown 2020. You're not going to worry about lockdown 1980. It's not relevant. 2020 is relevant. So having relevance in your title and in your thumbnail is important for the algorithm. Number 3 is your description. Use as much as you can for your description box. Don't abuse it. Don't intoxicate it with falseness. Be authentic with your description, but also don't be shy to describe the best possible way you can use for your video or your description. All right. And then fourthly is your tags. Make your tags relevant. Don't put in things that are not relevant. Google or YouTube will pick on that up. It will pick that up. It will potentially take your video down, which no one wants. And you also maybe going to create distrust with your audience. You want to get audience to love you. You want to get audience to trust you. You want to get audience to believe in you. Your tags are important. It creates that safe net. All right. So those are 4 things. Then also a good way to make your videos even better is obviously liking and subscribe. So guys, those of you that don't have any interest in not liking a video are not going to subscribe to the video, but always ask the audience to like and subscribe. Why do you want to do that? Is because you want them to like and subscribe. So guys, please like and subscribe. Simple as that. Then another good way to do things is create a card. Now, a card is something that pops on the screen, and that actually enforces or entices the viewer to go on to another video. Now, what I'm going to do from my side is I'm going to link up CJ's gaming studio, his gaming brand. I'm going to link it up on one of my videos, but I'm also going to tag another video that came before this, step 1. The reason why I want to do that is I want to create that awareness to the audience that there's more than one thing. I'm not selfish, but I kind of know what I'm talking about, and I'm kind of collaborating with somebody else. So those are good things to have: is title, description, tag, thumbnail, like and subscribe, and then also your cards and your templates. That's pretty much it, right?
100%, Jonathan. I think, I mean, that covers it. You know, your end screen. If you've got an intro and outro, those type of things, you can also add into it. Some people just have a verbal intro. Some people have an actual graphic. So those are the things you can incorporate into it as well. But everything that you've said, those are the fundamental building blocks of it, and those are the things that are vitally important to keep and get right. The most important thing I'd say is keep on creating, keep on posting. Just make sure what you're creating, that you're trying to get better at it. You're trying to put out the best quality content you can put out there in terms of what you know and what you're trying to achieve. Those are so vitally important. Lots of people can, you know, a lot of people just say, post as much as you can. That is very true. Post as much as you can, but post about relevant things. Post about things that relate to what you're trying to achieve, because you aren't going to get that subscriber base and you aren't going to get that follower without the engagement, without people being interested and actually buying into what you're selling. And that what you're selling is a specific topic or specific brand or specific person. And that person is you. You know, that person is your brand. And that might be helping other people find themselves, you know. So there's so many little things like that, but focus on those key little fundamentals.
Absolutely. You don't want to be a knick-knack channel. All right. No one wants to walk into a knick-knack store unless they are into knick-knacks. Relative is, if I start posting cat videos, it's not relevant to what the Snowflake Samurai is about. So be consistent with your content. Don't be shy to put up content, even though you don't think the content is good. You never know. Somebody else might find value to it. Don't be hard on yourself. Love yourself through this process. It's something that I think a lot of creators are very wary of or very shy of in the beginning, is they don't love themselves through this process. Make yourself vulnerable. Don't be scared to make the bloopers and the mistakes. Just roll with it. All right. So another thing, guys, CJ does have his own gaming channel. It's called Skimpyflea. I do suggest check it out. The link will be down on this video. Yeah. And how does CJ fit into Snowflake Samurai? Well, he's pretty much the guy that's helping me learn this tech stuff, because I never knew any of this tech stuff. And I constantly made the decision to ask for help. All right. Because I went through a lot of tutorials and I'm watching everybody else do it, but I didn't find anybody that could talk layman to me. CJ can talk layman to me. And that's why I want to talk layman to anybody else who's out there that's trying to start. So that's how CJ and I know each other. So again, don't be scared to get out of your comfort box. The world is big, and the right people will fall into place and help you create your channel. The more value you give, the more value you get. So guys, having said that, don't forget to like and subscribe, share the love. It's been awesome. CJ, stay on the line.